Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Only Murders in the Building, Season 2, Episode 6. We have a lot to get into with you guys today. We have more suspects, more theories, more questions. There is a lot that is going on. There's just like an avalanche of just info just dumping all over us.
That phone call, guys, we're gonna talk to you guys about that phone call, who actually warned Oliver and Charles, and why Mabel wasn't warned, and who we think it is. And of course, we're gonna want to know who you think it
Yeah.
is because it is such a huge mystery right now.
Well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're thinking about all this and getting the wheels turning because we have a lot of videos coming up, reviews, plus our
Mhm.
ongoing Only Theories in the Building series where we're going to dive into a lot of this stuff even further. And of course, we
Mhm.
want you guys to be a part of that.
Yeah, we're going to have another Only Theories in the Building coming up on Thursday. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on that. And also follow us over on our
Yeah.
Instagram, which is Matt and Jess TV. We have lots of fun pictures over there of our pets, just kind
Yeah.
of life. Just if you want to know a little bit more about us away from the channel, that's a really great place to keep up with us.
Okay, Kip, let's just start big picture here for a second because don't get me wrong, I love Only Murders in the Building. I think this is
Mhm.
like one of the shows that I'm the most excited to just watch immediately, like the second it comes out. It's
Yep.
like this, Better Call Saul, Ted Lasso. It's like a very small group of shows like this for me, but there's a lot going on in this episode. And at times, I did kind of feel like, okay, here is Jane Lynch. Here is Zoe Coletti. Here is Tina Fey. Here is, there's so many different people. Cara Delevingne's back. Like, there's a lot.
And Andrea Martin. Okay, listen to all my fellow Canadians out there. I'm Canadian. SCTV was something that
Yeah.
I watched all the time. Martin Short was on there. Andrea Martin, it was so nice to see her. Listen, there
Yeah.
is a lot of guest stars, but I ain't mad about this one at all. 10 out of 10.
I ain't mad about Andrea Martin. I either want the episodes to be longer or we have a little bit more time with the trio.
Longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
longer is good because it just feels like, we don't have like we have a lot of information in this episode. And like
Mhm.
you said, the phone call, we're gonna talk a lot about that. But it's also like, I want more of Mabel regaining her memory, the night that Bunny died. I want more specifically tied towards Bunny, and there wasn't a lot of direct Bunny connections here.
Okay, so before we get too further into sort of the phone call and stuff, let's just talk about this whole Alice reveal.
Oh boy.
I think it's not too surprising of a reveal that she's trying to do some sort of art installation about Mabel. We all knew that there was something more behind her relationship and why she all of a sudden just popped out of the blue, hey Mabel, we're now, in a relationship and I'm getting really close to you. She's taking pictures of her carpet. I'm like, okay, there is something going on. She's not the murderer, but watching Mabel walk into this sort of art installation where they're even repeating what she just told Alice about her dad, about the eggs. Like, it was really heartbreaking.
Yeah, I felt so bad. And Selena was great in that scene. The whole
Yeah.
environment was just so disturbing. Like Alice is
Oh.
clearly an opportunist, and she's clearly someone who saw an advantage to really, get her name out there. We already found out a little bit of her backstory that she doesn't really have like this huge family
Mhm.
experience in art, humble beginnings. She's probably trying to take advantage of whatever opportunity that she can.
Yep.
I will say this that we saw sort of that big her version of Mabel's artwork and all the different built like places within the building.
Mhm.
I She's clearly very talented when it comes to replicating pieces of art that she has seen.
Yeah, I brought this up a long time ago in one of our other videos. We'll have them linked for
Yeah.
you below, but I think that the painting and everything that's going on with the painting is not actually connected to the murder. I think there's two mysteries going on at the same time. And I said back then, I still stand on it. Alice is the person who forged the painting.
Yeah, I think it's something that hopefully we're going to get a little bit more answers to here as to why Alice would be needed to make a fake Rose Cooper painting, why that would need to be involved in all of this. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but how many coincidences are there?
Money! It's always money driven.
Okay, all right, no, it's true. All right, let's get into this phone number now and what's going on here, because for a long time the idea was, okay, this is just the police. The police are trying to help, even though she said to you guys that it wasn't her.
I didn't think it was her. I knew that this was going to come back up again. I think she would have let them know in some kind of way that it was her. Like it just didn't feel like it was her when they were like, oh, we know that you're the one that warned us. I'm just kind of like, okay, there's some things that don't add up then. She's only going to warn just Charles and just Oliver and not Mabel. Like, that is really odd. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It can't be her. There has to be something deeper to why only two of them got warned and Mabel didn't. And it's actually kind of strange that we're this deep in and the three of them haven't spoken about that it's odd that Mabel didn't get a call.
And it's really,
there's a text.
There's a lot of big questions here. And to me, the biggest question is just why did this person have the knowledge of where Charles was, where Oliver was? Why would they choose not to leave a message to Mabel? And this is where we go down the crazy rabbit hole of, I could be wrong. I don't even necessarily want it to be Jared, aka, Nina's significant other, because he's not really that exciting. But it's just a situation here where, we've already talked about opportunists. Mm-hmm. What we know about Jared is he wants to create this like weird bubble structure above the Arconia. He's clearly standing to make a lot of money here. You mentioned money. Exactly. So here is somebody who stands to gain a lot with the building transitioning over. Bunny doesn't want that to happen. Bunny really wants to stay in place. Maybe he's thinking, okay, even if Nina takes over and Bunny, isn't in charge of the building anymore, she could still be a problem. I need to get this problem out. So he plans this, commits the crime, but then after the fact starts to realize, oh, here's an opportunity to sort of set up somebody. Here's an opportunity to set up Mabel, who is in a particular place at a particular time, and he knows potentially from Nina or Bunny how to get in and around the building, how to navigate through the catacombs. We saw the person with the boots in the catacombs. They kind of looked like a guy. Like, to me, this makes a certain amount of sense that he wouldn't text Mabel to get out, because he needs Mabel to not get out. He needs to frame Mabel, and if Charles and Oliver are out of the picture, that is easier. But this is really complicated, and this may not actually be the truth at all.
Okay, so again, we'll link the video below. Yeah. Last week, we talked about one of the theories I had, that it's Ursula, the gut milk lady, because money motivated again. Last season, she was making lots of money off of Oliver, trading information about Tim Kono and sort of this murder for him buying gut milk. And this season, Cinda Canning is also buying gut milk, and so is Oliver. So now this murder has become double lucrative. Again, money. Yeah. I'm not completely off that theory, but I will tell you that this episode has reopened my original theory, which is that it's Poppy. It was very strange to have a Poppy episode at all, but there's a lot of connections now that are starting to come together. So when we saw Mabel and them all being arrested and coming out of the building, I always found it very weird that Cinda and Poppy were there. Like, why? You don't live in the neighborhood. You don't live in the building. You wouldn't have known about this unless you were somehow involved in this. There was no reason for you to be there. And so when we got into this episode and we learned more about Poppy, where she's like, yeah, I'm really ambitious. I want to move up sort of with Cinda, who's my mentor. She's my mentor. I'm a fan. When you a fan of somebody, you do anything for them. We all have known people like that.
Yes.
When you a fan. So it was just, she's so motivated with her ambition and to do well in the eyes of Cinda, sort of thing, that I originally thought weeks back that Poppy could have been the person that was gone out to do this, to sort of be like, Cinda's complaining about Only Murders in the Building and their podcast. It's getting popular and she's feeling threatened. This is an opportunity for Cinda because she has been now following them and basically took their whole idea. Oh, we're going to now follow murderers as it's unfolding instead of going and talking about murders that already happened. So she has this opportunity to steal their platform, to deplatform them altogether by setting up this murder. I think Poppy may have taken it into her own hands to be like, okay, you know what? We're going to set this up and, we're going to make it that we're going to kill Bunny, or Poppy's going to kill Bunny and set it up that it's Mabel because, as Cinda said, having sort of the murderous female is very lucrative for the podcast. And we learned just how good Poppy is at doing the research, getting people from way back in Mabel's past, the Long John Silver story, all that sort of stuff. And her being like, I know where the bodies are buried, sort of thing. It's just, it feels very much motivated by just ambition, wanting to grow, wanting to please her mentor, and warning Oliver and Charles only to get out of the building would make sense for Poppy if she just wanted to make sure that only Mabel was there. Her two friends couldn't come in, they couldn't save her, they couldn't help her, and it would just be about Mabel. I think that with her research skills, she would have known about that secret passage.
Couple of things here. Number one, how do you think Long John Silver is feeling today after this episode of
Listen, not as good as Cinnabon from yesterday's episode of Better Call Saul. That was like a 52-minute commercial for deliciousness.
I like Long John Silver. I'm just throwing that out there. Granted, they're just deep frying everything. There's no
okay, it sounds all right.
Yeah, other than just like probably getting a heart attack. There's a lot of good things that come from that. But no, okay. The other thing here, and I literally just thought about this right when you were talking. But what if we take a page here from Captain Planet and combine our powers? What if Jared is actually connected to Cinda Canning and Polly in some sort of way? Because money, a huge driving force here. Maybe they could benefit each other. And the biggest thing I'm sort of thinking about with this is we have the glitter bomb stakeout in this episode where the guy shows up, gets all the glitter, and then later on we see this same person in, the subway with Mabel. What if Cinda and or Poppy, because they made this big deal about how Cinda would do anything to sort of drum up publicity and to craft a narrative. What if they called up Jared and Jared was sort of out there in the field doing this sort of stuff, and maybe they got Jared on the subway. Maybe they set up Jared in this. I don't like both of these theories. I think are interesting in their own way, but given the scope here and given just like how many different things are involved, it's not out of the realm of possibility to me that there's like 2 or 3 people kind of working together.
I think there's a few different mysteries going on and a few different people that could be working together. I do think that it's very possible that Jared could be working with Poppy, that Poppy could have gone to Jared to ask about the building, and he would know about the building and he would know about the passageways. It's also possible that she just stumbled across them. I mean, my theory is that whoever went over to see Bunny in the first place, where Bunny was like, oh my goodness, what's happening? She didn't get stabbed over there. There was no blood in Bunny's apartment. So the attacker attacked Bunny over there.
Yeah.
It's possible then that Bunny ran over to Mabel's place because she just saw them over there celebrating. So she may have gone over there to be like, help, somebody's attacking me. She would have keys to the apartment, went in, The killer followed her in and then stabbed her there with the knitting needle, and then Oliver's knife, maybe. We'll get into that. And then just didn't know how to get out of there, saw the grate, jumped in, and was like, oh, hello, passageways.
Like, it's very well possible whoever did this just saw a really good chance to frame this around Mabel and then Charles and Oliver and didn't necessarily plan all of this out in advance, and then sort of just like retroactively being like, okay, let's put the knife here. Let's put, the fake Rose Cooper painting here. It could happen, right?
Let's talk about this evidence. So
Okay.
we're 16 minutes in.
Yeah.
So if you're still listening, here's where I'm starting to have a bit of a unraveling beef with the show. I still love the show. I'm still a fan. When you a fan of something, you're still a fan.
Heck yeah.
It's just, the thing is we've got, Mabel is framed for murder. Like, this is really a huge charge against her. It's the worst of the worst here. She and them have enough evidence that they could have brought it to the cops. They didn't have to bring it to that specific cop when they were texting and they realized that it wasn't her. There is a whole police force they could have brought all their evidence to. Oh, I'm sure that they have a lawyer, and a lot of this could have, my problem with what's going on with the show right now could have been fixed if they just had a scene with a lawyer where they brought the matchbook with a fingerprint, the knife that wouldn't have had Mabel's fingerprints on. She even said, like, stop touching this knife. It doesn't have my fingerprints on it. This can help me. We have so much information, including a phone number of the possible person who actually killed Bunny. Why haven't they turned over this evidence at least to their lawyer, so that the lawyer could be like in the background being like, listen, I'm going to look into this. It's going to take me a little while to look into it. So, sit tight. And then by the time they get to the last episode, I mean, we're deep in now.
Yeah.
The lawyer can show back up and be like, yeah, this fingerprint belongs to Poppy. But they could be like, oh, we already figured it out. It's just, they're sitting on so much evidence that can clear them, and they haven't presented it to anyone that can help them. So it's a bit of some plot armor here, obviously. Obviously they can't have it that actually helps them, but they can have it in the background.
They could do something. I mean, maybe they'll do something at the start of episode 7 once they realize, okay, this is really bad. Everything that's going on with Mabel now. Where in the world is Mabel? I do want to mention, you brought up your gut milk lady theory earlier on, and there was a bottle of gut milk in that dashboard during the stakeout. And it's like, we talked about this in this last episode, that they continue to remind us that gut milk is a part of the story.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed, so that's just there.
And it's possible that the person that got glitter bombed could be Ursula. I mean, it's kind of a similar build. It's also a similar build to Poppy. It could be her as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a man.
There's still a lot of wiggle room that they could make this whoever they want. Like, that's a part of what makes, the math, the loose clothes, like all this sort of stuff set up in that way. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to do with any mystery, but as much as I was sort of lamenting that there's way too many guest stars going on here, and, I didn't even mention Michael Rappaport earlier, but Jane Lynch and Amy Ryan in the prison where she is reading to Jan Charles's breakup note. This was so dumb, but also so funny at the same exact time. It's like, Charles, really? You're bringing your stand-in, who from the front looks nothing like you, by the way, to go and do this?
Yeah, it was a good laugh. I mean, it was nice to have a couple of laughs in an episode that had a lot of really serious stuff going on. Like, Oliver is getting himself DNA tested as well because he's in denial, obviously, that Will is not his son or biologically his son. He's still his father. I mean, he raised him. That is his son. But this is still, it's obviously very hurtful for him. And he's really hoping that maybe there's just something there, that maybe he has Greek heritage as well. It's just, it's tough.
This whole situation is going to be tough. And I think this is where we leave off on such an interesting note because, you know, these three characters, they want to all focus on this mystery, but it
Mm.
is like Oliver is being haunted by, you know, this information that he doesn't know. Mabel is feeling really betrayed because Charles has been keeping up a relationship with the person who killed, you know, her own friend in Tim Kono.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had that whole talk about the Long John Silver where he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, you know, she cut my finger off and then deep fried it and all this sort of stuff." And she was like, "No, this guy was really creepy handsy with me for a while, and when I finally pushed back, you know, it was just an accident that he, you know, got his finger cut in this meat cleaver, this
Yeah.
meat grinder." But then we have this situation where she sees the glitter all over the potential killer here. And then we have this live streaming video of, again, a knitting needle in their chest, them like stumbling out of the subway car. Is there more going on? Like, does she have blackouts where she doesn't know what's going on? Is there actually a possibility that Mabel actually did this?
I think I think there's a chance that they don't want us to rule it out completely, I think, because Mabel has gone through a lot. She's got a dark
Mhm.
past. Like I think they want to sort of have that question out there, and I think we are gonna find out more about that dark past and some of her demons through the rest of this season. I still want to believe the best for Mabel. I hope that she's not the killer,
I
but
don't think she is,
you
but they
know.
definitely want us to question it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we will see where things go moving into episode 7 and beyond. I'm so glad we have a season 3 renewal already. We don't have to worry about that.
And don't forget, on Thursday, we are going to have another Only Theories in the building where we are going to be diving a lot deeper into who is behind that phone call.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button and we will see you here next time.